Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting. Pnawn da, croeso cynnes. So the first item on the agenda this afternoon is the appointment of chair. And at the annual meeting, Council determined that the Flintshire People's Voice Group will chair this committee. The committee is advised that Councillor Sam Swash is the chair of the committee for the municipal year. So I'd like to welcome Councillor Swash to take over the chair. Thank you.
Diolch, thank you, Margaret. Pnawn da, good afternoon, members. Welcome to this meeting of the Social and Healthcare Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We'll move on to agenda item 2, which is appointment of vice chair. Do I have any nominations for vice chair? Councillor Allport. That was a nomination for Councillor Coppell. Councillor Mackie.
Second that nomination.
Seconded. All those in favour of Councillor Coppell? That looks like everybody. Councillor Coppell, welcome back to being Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Welcome, thank you.
Just before we begin today's formal business, I'd just like to take a moment to pay tribute on behalf of the committee to our late colleague, Councillor Hilary McGwill, who sadly passed away since our last meeting. Hilary was a former chair of this committee and someone who very clearly cared deeply about the issues that came before it. Even after political balance changes meant that Hilary was no longer a member of the committee, she continued to attend meetings and contribute to our discussions. Such was her interest and passion for social and healthcare. Indeed, when I became chair of the committee, Hilary took the time to send me a number of helpful emails offering advice, tips and encouragement. Of course, she didn't have to do that, but it was a kindness that reflected the supportive approach she always showed to her colleagues. So on behalf of the committee, I'd like to place on record our gratitude for Hilary's contribution. Her continued interest and engagement even after leaving the committee was a reflection of her commitment to public service. So rest in peace, Hilary, and thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 3, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We've had one substitution, Councillor Sean Bibby for Councillor Gina Madison. Thank you.
Thank
you. Chair,
Councillor Healy, yeah.
I'll have to leave at 3:30. I've got an appointment. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you for letting us know, Councillor Healy. Councillor Bibby.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I've got another engagement with meeting an officer about ward issue, so I'm going to have to leave just before 3 o'clock.
Thank you for letting us know, Councillor Bibby. We'll move on to agenda item 4, which is declarations of interest, including whipping declarations. Would any members like to make any declarations of interest? No. Thank you. We'll move on to the minutes. They are on pages 5 to 8. Councillor Mackie?
Move, Chair.
Do I have a seconder for those minutes? Councillor Thew. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, everybody. Agenda item 6 is urgent matters as agreed by the chair. There aren't any. So we'll move on to agenda item 7, which is the forward work programme and action tracking. That's on pages 9 to 20.
Thank you, Chair. So the next meeting, it will be a joint meeting with the Education, Youth and Culture, and that's the date's moved on that. You should have had a notification. It will now be on the 2nd of July at 2 p.m. And there are a number of interesting items that will be considered at that meeting jointly. Then we've got the next meeting will be in July, where we will have the Director's Annual Report, the final version, an update on CIW Action Plan, Safeguarding Annual Report, and probably the end of year performance report. I have populated the rest. We had some items sort of to be brought onto the forward work programme, so I have populated some of those. But the plan is, once we've considered the annual the Director's Annual Report at the July meeting, that we can then look at the priorities and pull those into the forward work programme as we work forward for the rest of the municipal year. And moving forward to the action tracking. Sorry, please.
So at the next meeting on the 16th of July, if committee wanted, we will on the 16th of June receive the CIW inspection of adult services. That goes into the public domain on the 18th of June. So we have it 2 days before with an embargo on it. What we could bring to the 16th would be the high level kind of, this is what the report says, strategically, this is our response. It's likely to be the case that we won't, by the 16th of July, because you have to work back to get papers, a detailed, comprehensive action plan in response. But we thought that we would offer to bring that high level overview. So you're cited what our initial response is with a view to then building it into the work programme to come with a more detailed action plan.
Councillor Mackie.
Thank you, Chair. I would second that proposal. I think it's particularly important that this committee is kept up to date, and to receive a high-level report in relation to that report would probably be an excellent idea. Thank you.
I'll now open up to members for any suggestions for items for the forward work programme, or any comments on it or the action tracking. Don't see any indications, so we'll move to the recommendations. We've got the usual three: one, that the committee considers the draft forward work programme and approve and amend as necessary; that the facilitator, in consultation with the chair, be authorised to vary the forward work programme between meetings as the need arises; and that the committee notes the progress made in completing the outstanding actions. So do I have a mover for those? Councillor Lister, all those, seconder. Councillor Mackie, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, everybody. What we're going to do now is, it's on the agenda as agenda item 11, but if it's okay with the committee, we're going to move forward agenda item 11 to come before the draft social services annual report, because we've got representatives here from HFT. Yeah, so I'll just ask committee to give a show of hands if they're okay with moving that agenda item. Yeah, that's carried. Thank you very much. So yeah, we'll go on to what is now agenda item 8, which is Learning Disabilities Day and Work Opportunity Services with HFT, including the Coed y Ddraig Development. And I'll pass over to Pamela Wilkinson to introduce this report. Sorry, Dawn.
Get used to it. Someone's on. It's on. Thank you. Sorry, apologies. I'm just going to introduce who's with us today, and then I'll briefly go through the report, but I'll hand over to the more important people to share their experiences of the service. So here today we've got Jill, who's a Flintshire County Council officer who manages the contract and works alongside HFT on a day-to-day basis operationally. We've got Alex here, who's the Flintshire Regional Manager and oversees all of the services in Flintshire delivered by HFT. We've got Siobhan here, who attends Hub Duffering in Holywell.
Yeah.
And we're going to introduce you in a bit, Siobhan, so that you can share your experiences.
Yeah.
We've got Shane here. Shane is a member of our Project Search Supported Employment Scheme. And then we've got Kelly, who is Shane's tutor as part of that scheme. So, and obviously Pam, who's Service Manager for Disabilities at Flintshire County Council. So I'll very, very quickly go through report, key points in the report, because you've seen it and had it, and the important information is coming in a second. So this report is to update on the HFT Learning Disabilities Day and Work Opportunity Service. They're contracted to deliver services up until 2030 in Flintshire, with a recent renewal of their contract, and services focus on skills development, meaningful activities for over 300 individuals across the county. So the report essentially covers that the service is a respite service for people who use the services and for their families and carers. It supports people to learn new skills, prepare for paid and voluntary employment, promotes independence and develops social networks. The overall service offering has evolved significantly since 2018, when the contract was first awarded, and a number of the services that they now run weren't in existence back in 2018. HFT are a valued partner organisation, and we do truly work in partnership together. We have a partnership board that works across the council and HFT for all of the service developments and progression that's happening within the service. Since the commencement of the contract, they have reviewed and evolved the delivery model across all of the services. And as a consequence of this, the offer is now quite comprehensive. And in the report, we quickly go through some of those key areas. So the first one is the Hub Coed Day Centre. It's a centre-based environment for shared support for up to 58 people with a learning disability. It remains a strong focus on building confidence, supporting people to express themselves, make choices about their day-to-day experience, and learn some day-to-day skills, household skills, learning skills, etc. But it is a centre-based service, and it's one of the new buildings. It's not new anymore, I suppose, it's 5 years old now, but one of the new buildings that's developed since 2018. We've then got the Hub Dufferin work placement service, with opportunities for 44 people to develop vocational skills through projects such as an on-site salon, product-based work for community events and markets. And these experiences provide real-life context and help build confidence in community-facing environments for individuals who attend. They also have an allotment, and work continues to offer valuable outdoor engagement, with initiatives also recently been developed, such as a choir that strengthens confidence, teamwork and community presence. We've got a drama service, a drama scheme that's been developed again more recently in the last few years. This enables people to become a lot more confident, more socially engaged, more willing to contribute in group settings. It regularly supports 15 people to attend, and I've had the pleasure of actually going to a couple of the performances, and they are just amazing. And I think for some people, this service has been transformative, both with communication skills and developing significantly through that consistent participation. We have Abbey Upcycling is another service. Used to be called Abbey Metal, for those of you who remember it from old. So this can support up to 35 people, and they undertake a whole host of activities there, quite often commissioned by community groups to create items. They also work alongside Keep Wales Tidy to do volunteer pickups, litter picking initiatives, etc. Some examples have been the Easter woodcraft, bespoke bookcases, personalised bird boxes for Flint Golf Club, planters, to name a few of the things that go on at Abbey Upcycling. We've then got the supported employment service. Sorry, I've skipped one. Cafe Di, I went too far, apologies. We've got Cafe Di first, can't forget Cafe Di, which is a public-facing cafe in Rowley's Drive in Shotton. Supports 13 people as a work placement to provide a space and support to train in a variety of roles you might need to work in a cafe environment, including front of house as well as food preparation. And I think Cafe Di have been interestingly working with North Wales Police more recently in building up partnerships and having regular engagement sessions with the police and the community in the cafe as well, which was really interesting development. We've then got the supported employment service, and this supports over 90 individuals. It provides a combination of organised workplace site visits and employee-led sessions where local employers deliver talks outlining their roles, what their organisational expectations are, the skills and attributes required to work in those roles and in different industries. They have a job club that's proven highly effective initiative in preparing individuals to enter that labour market and strengthening the community and employer links with people with learning disabilities to really enhance that employment opportunity. We have, alongside the supported employment service, Project Search, which is an internship programme that provides work experience combined with training in employability and independent living skills for individuals with learning disabilities and/or autism. And I've put a case study in, I won't go through the case study now, but I've put a case study in the report of Adam, who's been in that service and has now gained employment at Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board as a result of his internship within Project Search. We've then got A walking group, again, this is a new group, promotes physical activity and social connection and getting out and about, not just within Flintshire actually, but you know, you've been over to Ruthin Castle and various other, Peckforton Castle and Beeston Castle, so it's not just about getting out in Flintshire, it's getting out and about wider as well. And then finally on the list, I've got the Coed y Ddraig work placement service, which is the brand new building. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to go over this morning and have a look around that building. It is the home of the horticultural services that were previously based at Trefold in Bretton and Growing Places in Shotton. They've both moved over to Coed y Ddraig now. The construction programme, some of you may be aware, encountered quite a delay in progressing at the point of connection with the electricity supply. That was an issue with the construction as opposed to anything else. So we were hoping we might have been in there April last year, but we finally got moved in on the 5th of February this year. And I think what has happened since the 5th of February on that site has been immense. The work that's gone in to get it set up and get things going. And in all fairness to HFT, you were kind of on standby for all of that time, waiting to move. And when you're dealing with horticulture and growing plants, there's quite a lot to think about in, are we moving, are we not moving? So it's been challenging few months for that service, but now that we're in the new build and the opportunities of that new build is just phenomenal. So we're really looking forward to seeing how that develops. As well as the horticultural service that's there, we've got a space to develop a cafe and also a shop for selling some of the goods and crafts that are made in the various parts of the service. We are looking at it providing an employment experience as well in different roles. So whether that's horticulture, whether it's the cafe, whether it's the shop, etc. And also it is a space which allows flexibility of use within those workshops. And we're already looking at specific spaces around some quieter work and some well-being, general well-being services as well. For those who didn't get a chance to go and have a look this morning, there is a footage of the completed building linked into the report. What I should also mention, as part of the development of Coed y Ddraig, we have worked with Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board to have an integrated hub for some services from the health board. Co-location, they've got a space within the building, dedicated space where they're hoping to deliver potentially occupational therapy, physiotherapy, other clinical interventions that are relevant within that space as well. So hopefully it will become a multi-partnership space that people can use for varying uses. But there's a particular space in there for OT and physio in particular. I think I've said enough. I'm going to hand over now to Alex to begin with. Alex is the regional manager that manages all the services in Flintshire, just to talk about, I suppose, the partnership, and then we're going to hand over to the people that really matter, are those that are experiencing the services. So, Alex.
Yeah, I think I'd echo what Dawn said really in terms of the partnership work. I think it's a very, very strong partnership that we have. In fact, I've worked with, in my previous role, 11 different authorities, and this is probably the strongest that we've had. It's very much, I think that collaboration is very much the success of our service provision and delivery. And the ear to the ground, I think, is also important. And the flexibility that each party has in terms of flexing for our audience, listening to what people say, what people want, and also challenging aspirations as well. So unfortunately, we know that some people who have a learning disability don't necessarily have the aspirations that people who don't have a learning disability. So our teams work really, really, really hard to empower people and I suppose support people to achieve and flourish. That's our teams, our paid teams, as well as people who we're supporting. And I think just listening to Dawn kind of painting the picture of how the service has developed over time, I felt quite overwhelmed by that. I don't know how on earth we've managed it, but we have. But I think the success of it for people and the thing that inspires me is that we're continually evolving. So listening to what people want, flexing around our neighbours, our audience, our communities. So Coed y Ddraig, as much as it's a place for people with learning disabilities, it's also a place for our communities. You know, we've reached, with an olive branch out to the estate across, and that will be extended further as we settle there, really. And all of our services are the same. It's very much, we very much want to work with our neighbours, bring neighbours to us, and enrich Flintshire, really, in one way or another. So, sorry.
1 second. Back on.
Right. Sorry about this, everyone. Socialising with me, with friends. Karaoke on a Fridays. North Wales Flyers rep. That's what I'm part of. That's what I do.
You want to tell people a bit about that?
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah, it's we have like a meeting, you know, like once every month, and other like reps, like we chat to like other reps, you know, like to see if we've got, you know, like problems like they like tell us and we like tell them, sort of thing, and then like our thoughts and ideas and all that. Looking into project search, which is you know, like for like, you know, like different jobs, you know, like if some people might want, you know, like a part-time job, sort of thing. Where am I now? Oh, and yeah, and then they also have like a spending good time in the salon, doing hair and beauty.
What do you like doing in that shop? What do you like people know?
I like doing, you know, like the hair and nails. Where am I now? Sorry. Hair and nails, yeah. Craft activities and diamond art and etc. We do like a choir practice every afternoon. You know, like singing like different songs and all that.
Is that every afternoon now? So it was just once a week, but I think people like it that every time I go, there's a whole parade of people singing.
Yeah,
it's like a theatre school.
yeah. Oh, I've got a knitting class starting soon. Looking forward to helping to plan for the new garden space, gardening club on a Tuesday, and that's it.
Yeah, during my time on the program with the project search and that, I've currently done 2 different placements. The one I'm currently doing is the mold recycling site, and that where I do all sorts, like helping tidy up, put stuff in the correct bins and that, as well as help the public when they need assistance in doing certain things. The first placement was with the NHS at the community hospitals as a porter and that, so I've gotten to know the staff and that, and I quite enjoyed working with them. What else?
It's helped to build your confidence a
Yeah.
lot, hasn't it? Since when you started in September
Yeah,
to where you are now. Would you agree?
Yeah, it has quite much, yeah.
So Shane's currently looking for jobs for when he finishes the programme in July. He's had really good feedback from all 3 placements. So yeah, the goal is for paid employment, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Okay.
Is that working? Thank you all, and thank you very much. I know that the members of the committee were really keen to hear the experiences of people who are engaging with the services, so thank you all very much for coming today. I know it's not easy to sit in front of a room full of strangers and speak to us, so yeah, I'm sure that will help with confidence building as well. So, and also just to say for the members who did come to Coed y Ddraig this morning, the feedback I've had is that, you know, members thought it was absolutely excellent, and for those who weren't able to come, I would recommend watching the drone footage on YouTube. It's also on the council's Facebook page, because that does give you a brilliant insight as to what the site looks like and how it's going to work as well. So I'd highly recommend that. I'll move on to members. I've got Councillor Cunningham online first.
Talking about Chair, I would just like to thank the youngsters for the way they spoke in front of such an audience who are regular speakers, to bigger audiences than this, and they put their work across. One of the questions I would like to ask the people who organise it, and Christine Jones probably knows as much as I do about a company called Double Click, which is in Shotton. It's a design and print company, and they take people with different degrees of mental illness and other disabilities, and train them on various things. I'm just wondering whether it might be beneficial to your group, and if so, you could contact through either Craig or Christine and get involved in that. We have one young lady. Well, she's not so young now, she's a lot older, but she got a degree through Double Click in design and print at Wrexham University. So, you know, it does offer an awful lot. So I would recommend, if it's possible, for your organisation to coordinate with Double Click and see what they have to offer. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Christine Jones.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Siobhan and Shane for speaking in front of us all and telling us all about your experiences and all the wonderful things that you get up to every day, every week in those services. You look as though you have a really good time. I know this morning, I know Project Search, I've been along from day one with that, and it's just an amazing experience for you young people working in Project Search with your job coaches. And I've been along through all the other services as well, Hub Dufferin, Hub Cuffley, and now obviously Coed y Ddraig, which we all went to, well, half of us went to this morning and had a wonderful time, had a really nice morning. Came away feeling extremely joyful. It's the only way I can describe it. Because when you meet all the young adults who work there and attend there, they just fill you with so much joy, and it's just fun visiting. The staff who work there are amazing. Our officers who work with our services are amazing. They just give these young people such a purpose in life. They really do. They've got their own independence now. Their confidence has been built, and they are just loving attending. Obviously, Coed y Ddraig, but I know they love going to Hub Dyffryn and Hub Cyfle. So I've been to them all and I've met you all, and it's just a lovely, lovely experience going to our services. Very proud of them all, and very proud for everybody who attends there and the staff who work there. So if you couldn't attend this morning, which was a shame, please do go on, as the chair has said, onto the drone footage and have a look, because it is a wonderful, wonderful building and facility. And just, you know, we will just keep carrying on. I mean, I know Tina had a word about linking in with the community in Mold Town Council, because we want to have a lot more community involvement, which we can do. The facilities are there for it, and health as well. I was speaking to Steve from health, and you know, we can really provide some really good services from there with health and the community as well. So yeah, so thank you both. You're absolutely brilliant, and enjoy. And I'll see you at Project Search Awards.
Dawn just come in.
She can.
Yeah, just to come back to the query around double click, I think there are some links with the supported employment service, but actually one of the things we can do from this meeting is go and strengthen those links and see what opportunities there are to do that cross-working. We obviously do work very closely as the council with double click and that partnership, but certainly we could strengthen those links, so we will take that on board. Just in relation to the comment Christine's just made around the community and mould, just before Coed y Ddraig opened, we did hold a community event in the rugby club in Mould, and there was lots of people who attended that, and we had some really great feedback and ideas. Obviously, it's not been long since we've moved into the building, and we need to now start progressing and developing those services, but we will build on that engagement activity and start to build those links with the wider organisations that work in Mould, and certainly Mould Community Council. That would be a real welcome opportunity for the service. Thank you.
We've got Councillor Bibby next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just like to say it was fantastic to see the two young people come here and provide us with an insight into their experiences of the service. And again, I think, as you said, Mr. Chairman, it can be quite daunting coming to a room full of strangers and speaking in front of them, but I think they did it very well with a great deal of confidence, and it's very enlightening to hear what they have got to say to us as a committee. Unfortunately, I can only attest to 2 facilities under the umbrella of this report, and I'm very proud that 2 of them are in Shotton, and that's Hub Cyfle and Coed y Ddraig. You know, it's been great to be able over the years to watch as they have developed. You know, they are fantastic facilities for the users, and I'm very proud that we have both of them located in Shotton. I think it's also very good to hear mention from Councillor Paul Cunningham about double click, also in Shotton. So yeah, I'm very proud in my own community that we've got these facilities that providing such a fantastic service for these young people, and long may it continue.
Thank you, Councillor Bibby. Do I have any other questions from members, or Councillor Mackie?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to give them a view from the opposition side. I was at the event this morning, and it certainly was very successful. I was very impressed. Let's take it down. First of all, by the staff, who are incredibly committed, and I mean that on the positive way, meaning of that word. I think there was one lady there, and she said herself that nothing stops her when she gets something in her mind, which, yeah, that's very good. They were all superb. They really were. The people who get employment there and get experiences there also were amazing. And to hear that you've been able to speak in front of us lot today is also very, very commendable. I remember when I first sat down in front of this committee quite a few years ago now, I could hardly get a word out. So you've done very, very well today. Very well indeed. It's great to hear about the way things are progressing. It really is. I just wanted to put my comments forward. I think the report and the description of Adam in the report and how he has progressed is a great way of showing how well this service is progressing. And that must be so important, not only to you and to him, but also to his family, to know that, well, first of all, to know that he has been able to progress and that improves his life and his outlook, but also to other people who may be wondering whether or not this service might be useful for their younger people. So I just want to really say that. There is one point I'd like to make. One point made to me at the meeting this morning was that since the move from County Hall to this building, the opportunity to have a shop, which used to happen at County Hall, has gone. And I would like to say, if you think something like that would help here, I think if you put a word in the right quarters, you will certainly find out whether or not it's possible, and it may just be. And if they won't do it, you could always put something up on the car park in the summer, couldn't you? So, you know, if you think that's going to be useful, give it a push, because you're good at that, because that's what you're doing all the time. And see whether it can come up. And it will certainly mean that your service is getting well known within the council and therefore within the community. So that is the only thing I want to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mackie. Councillor Lister.
I also want to say thank you so much for coming to speak to us. You both did amazing. It is a very scary room to speak in front of. Make sure you put it on your CV when you go job hunting, because that was brilliant. Shane, I was wondering if you knew what sort of job you wanted to do after all your experience. Oh, sorry.
I have a couple of ideas and what I want to do, but I think the main one for me would be youth work, because I was part of a youth club since I was 11 and they've been amazing to help me. They were the ones that recommended me to Project Search and that's how I joined and that. So I want to give back what they've given me by helping them by joining their thoughts.
What a super answer.
I was just about to say, if I worked in a youth service, I'd give you a job based on that answer. That was brilliant. Well done. It actually leads really nicely on to what I wanted to ask the officers, and that was, how do people refer into your service? And are the people who need your service, are you reaching everybody? And yeah, how do people know about you and can get into the service?
We have a joint approach to this, and referrals can come through many different ways. It is usually through the social worker. Sometimes people self-refer, but Pam's team will often get in touch, or it may be family members or people themselves, and we'll work with each individual to try our hardest to be able to provide the support that's required in one way or another. We are lucky as well because we have such a repertoire in a sense of provision for people. So I like to think that if we haven't got a menu that people are interested in already, that we could maybe tailor something for people specifically. And people do move around really as their skills develop and their confidence grows.
Is there capacity for more people to experience your service, or are you working at full capacity at the moment? It
always feels like we're working at full capacity, to be fair. but we always try to accommodate more people as well. Yeah.
Can I come in there as well, just to add, from a project search perspective, we take referrals not just from social services, but from wider community as well, for people who perhaps aren't necessarily known or receiving services from social services, but do have a learning disability and would value and benefit from the internship. So that's advertised out in the community as well. So if you've got people that you know that might be interested, please contact us and let us know, and we can share that, because we're always looking for some suitable people to join Project Search. With regards to the numbers, obviously you've been to Coed y Ddraig this morning. That's a brand new facility. It's a lot bigger and a lot better than the previous Treforth. So there are some discussions already around how we develop services there, particularly looking at an autism service moving forward. It's going to take some time. It won't happen overnight, but there is opportunities there to really expand and develop that in the needs and gaps that we've got here in Flintshire.
Sorry, can I just say that just before you move your mic, we also link in with schools as well, so school children and families know about us and what we're offering as well. Yeah.
I've got one more question for Siobhan. I'm very glad to hear you enjoy singing, because I enjoy singing too, karaoke and choir. But what I really want to know is, which salon can I come to get my nails done? Hob Dufferin. I will be there. Thank you very much.
I don't have any other members indicating. I had a question, which was, I mean, maybe it's for Craig or Chris to answer. I think myself and Steve asked this on site today, and we were just wondering, are there any plans for the existing site in Treforth? Do we know what's happening with that or not?
So the short answer is no, we don't know what happens. So what happens is we declare that surplus now to social services, and the county council will need to determine what they need to, how they could best use that land. So that's the process that will follow next.
Thank you, Craig. Unless I've got any other indications, we'll move to the recommendation. There's just the one in the paper, which is that members review and note the progress of services in the Coed y Ddraig Development. Based on the feedback we've had, I suspect maybe we might want to strengthen that a little bit and maybe say welcomes the progress. So, Councillor Mackie, would you like to make a suggestion?
I haven't really gone that far down the suggestion. I wanted to say that I wanted to applaud the work that was being carried out, and which we saw demonstrated this morning. Ongoing development. We were also pleased to hear about ongoing development, and I think I would particularly like to mention the young people and the development that we saw there, and the confidence that they exemplified, and we've seen again this afternoon. I feel that that's important, as well as thanking the staff for all their help. I know it's a lot, but I'm sure Margaret can do something with all that. And you do have the advantage of being able to look at the recording.
Do we have a form of words for that, Margaret?
So if we so we go with the first one, then we'll, that members applaud the ongoing development and work at the site, and particularly the development of the young people involved, or works to that effect, Chair.
That's been moved by Councillor Mackie, seconded by Councillor Lister. All those in favour? As expected, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Siobhan and Shane. Good luck with the job hunt, Shane. And yeah, there's no expectation for you to stay for the rest of the meeting, so feel free to leave if you would like to. Thank you very much. Right then, members, we will move back to what was agenda item 8, which is now agenda item 9, which is Draft Director of Social Services Annual Report 2025-26, and I'll pass over to Craig to introduce this one.
Thank you, Chair. Before we just do that, I just wanted to thank members for allowing us to bring the actual people who use services and for them to let you know their experience. I think it's a much better way than officers telling you what it's really like. So thank you for supporting that approach. It's appreciated. And for those who were able to go this morning, thank you as well for taking the time to do that. So this report, every year, members will be aware it's a statutory duty on myself to write an annual report. So every director in Wales has to produce an annual report which sets out their view of the local authority's social care functions and priorities for improvement. I do not do this alone. I am very reliant on my officers who enable this report to be produced. Firstly, I would like to apologise. There was an administrative error. The draft report was meant to be included as an appendix. Unfortunately, I think one appendix got attached twice rather than the report. And Margaret, that came to our attention today, didn't it? And you've been able to take some action on our behalf, so thank you. I would stress, though, this is a draft. What we're not asking you today is to formally approve that document. One particular officer, Gemma Wellstead, who's one of our planning officers, what she's done in the report is looked at all the priorities we said we were going to deliver on last year, has chased everyone up to ask where we're up to provide evidence of our delivery. And that forms a lot of this report in terms of Gemma's work around pulling together where we are. And then I overlay that in the summary of the document at the start with my own assessment, having looked at all of that evidence and information and what my perspective is. There is a format that we have to follow for the annual report, and it's one of those, it's intended for the public, it's intended for the inspectorate, it's intended for members, and it's quite difficult because they're very different audiences with very different requirements. We try and mesh everything together as much as we can. The version that has been circulated is what we're proposing as the content, but there's also we include an appendix which shows how it will be designed once we get to that stage in terms of making it more presentable. But in terms of the framework that we have to follow, there are 4 areas prescribed for us in what's called the Performance Improvement Framework. And that's about how social care services are delivering for people, how we're doing around prevention and early intervention, how we're working as a partner and how our partnerships and integrated work's doing, and how we are promoting the well-being of our residents through social care. And under each of those 4 headings, there are a total of 8 quality standards. So the report has to be framed around that. I need to be explicit, really. In this report, and what you will see in my assessment, is that there is much to celebrate, much to be proud of in Flintshire. But I do recognise, and I'm quite upfront in the report, that last financial year was a really challenging year for us. This is going to be another challenging, and I think we have to say that and be honest with our residents. We are working in a situation where there is, you know this, more need, more complexity and less money, and more challenges around trying to stretch our resources to go further. And that is a difficult challenge. And at the same time, we have some very specific workforce pressures. We've got some fantastic staff, but also we do struggle to recruit in specific areas. And that does impact. It impacts in that we are often reliant on agency staff. Some of those agency staff are fantastic. Some are doing it just for the job and just for the money, and don't see it as a vocation, and that's fine as well. But I think one of the things that we do find challenging is, particularly in children's services, because we have agency staff and there is a turnover, we're constantly having to do the work around training, making sure people understand our practice, our processes, get everything consistent. Because as soon as you do that, they then move on and you get your next cohort. So it's really important that we do, over the next few years, and I say few years because I'm being realistic, we really attend to actually having a stable, experienced workforce across the piece, because that really is a central planking about getting consistency of approach and practice. So what I reflect in this report is that there are many strong outcomes. There's a lot that we've done during a demanding period, but we're on a journey of improvement within challenging set of circumstances. And I think we had in July last year the children's inspection that came, and there'll be an update. We know that we'll be getting an adults inspection, and we await the outcome of that. But one of the things, my reflections, is that one of the challenges we need to develop and work on this financial year is about how we assure ourselves. So we've got practice, good practice, we've got pockets of really exemplary practice. How do we ensure that we've got consistency, and how do we know where our strengths and challenges are, and how do we ensure that we've got really good performance management, quality assurance systems that really are able to listen to the voices of our residents and their experiences. So today is an example of how we're trying to cement people's voices and experience in the work that we do. And the report reflects that during this coming year, we will continue to work to strengthen our systems and support our workforce and ensure that safeguarding is at the centre of everything we do. I do highlight full council did endorse and support the allocation of additional funding for social services, and that's because of the challenges we came. We're fortunate that council listened to us and supported, so we recognise that it's been challenging, but there has been additional money as part of Flintshire commitment to keep services running and show the council's commitment to vulnerable people. So I wanted to highlight that the tone is slightly different this year, and I think for right reasons. I think we've got to be really transparent about some of the challenges that we currently face, and the reality that we can't keep doing the same thing because we will not have enough capacity, not enough resources, and demand will outstrip our ability, and we need to really be focusing on what are the core things, what's our core offer, and how do we do that consistently well. So the document sets our priorities. It's draft. Donna was reflecting all the work Gemma's done to get us where we are. Our ask, and unfortunately we are on a tight time frame because we have to publish the document, get it through our systems and publish it. I think it's by the end of July it has to be published. But what we're asking for, it's one of those difficult things, isn't it? Because it's not actually a committee or council, it's mine. But what I want to do is make sure that you have an opportunity to comment, to give a view. You scrutinise, you hold officers quite rightly to account. So I'd be really interested. I know you haven't had a chance to see it, but if you were able to read it and send comments to us, that would be very much welcomed.
Thanks, Craig. Councillor Mackie.
Thank you, Chair. We have to be realistic. The financial situation we're in is not of our doing, it's not of a government doing, it's because our economy, for reasons that are outside our control, simply is not growing enough. And as a result of that, we've fallen behind. Not our fault, no one's fault. It's just a fact. COVID and further problems. So I think you're right. I think we have to say it as it is. Don't gloss it over. Let people know the situation. We probably won't be able to tell them why we are in the situation we're in, but it's about time that the public began to realise that this is a situation that we are having to face because of the situation with our economy. So I would say that I haven't had a chance to read the draft. I did notice a couple of days ago when I was reading the report that there was a problem there. I didn't take it up then. I should have done. It's my fault. We could have got it done, checked earlier. My notes here say there is that problem. But I'm quite happy. It is your report. When this report first started, this committee used to go through every single line. And I think you were involved in it then. I think it was one of the first things you had to do. Yes, it was. That's how we met. And it took months. And I don't think that was the right approach at all. I think this is the right approach that we're using now. And we're being honest, and we're giving the sort of information to the public and to the auditors and the other people who have to read this report about what's happening. My slight concern over on one side is there somebody in Cardiff who's going to read this? Perhaps give it marks out of 10. Do we really have to do this? Because it is a lot of work. And when you are under pressure, I would say you look at everything and you say, well, do we really need to do this? And I know we have to do it, but it seems to me that the people who make these, set these requirements need to think about what they're saying and put their demands within the context of everything else. And personally, I would far rather we looked after an old person than wrote a report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mackie. Craig?
Thank you, Councillor Mackie. Yes, we take a more proportionate approach to it, I would say, in terms of, but I think for me, what we've worked to achieve is a position where this report sets our priorities for social services portfolio in the next 12 months. What we don't produce is a separate service plan, because actually this is in effect, becomes our priorities and our service plan. These are then the things, if you remember, what we will then do is look at what the priorities are, and as Margaret said, would then build that into the forward work programme, because actually it's our service plan, it's our priorities, and these are the things that we will then report to you on. What that means is that when we get to the end of the year and we have to look back, we've got 12 months of scrutiny papers where we can go, this is what we'll put in next time. We'll take these bits out of the report because we've already reported on. So what we've tried to do is nip this and make it into our priorities, our service plan, the projects that we're delivering, how we ensure good governance, how we review those, how we report to you, and then how we sweep that into a report at the end and set new priorities for the year through. So we've got better into that pace, I would say, Dawn. Dawn manages Gemma and the team that work on this.
Councillor Coppell.
Thank you, Chair. Craig, obviously your draft report is very draft and very new to us. I've only just scanned it now, and what triggered me off was something you just said earlier in the conversation in terms of it's going forward. It cannot be business as usual. Cannot be. The world is changing, and it's changing quickly. Most reports tend to have a 12-month window to them, and so that's not, in that sense, it's great for the 12 months, but this is a long. My own personal belief is that somewhere in this report needs to be a more strategic view of changes, which you can go down two routes. You can go the business as usual route, and that means we're going to fall off a cliff at some point. because another 7 million may not be coming next year or the year after or the year after that. Or, and then you mentioned a time when there's a time frame when you said, we need to change. You actually said that, we need to change. And I thought, right, okay, what's going to make us you trigger that change off? Because a change of that magnitude, I don't know your business, but I've been in sort of businesses, always takes a lot more time than you think. And it's hugely more complex than most people think. And so that thing, I think one of your work programs needs to be that morphing from today's plan, which looks like last year's plan, but a few tweaks to it, going to a different way of working, because if you don't, the cliff is coming. So I'd like to see that somewhere in the documentation. Thank you.
You are absolutely right. I don't want to use the word transform, but it's about I always talk about developing a resilient social services, so that we've got workforce resilience, the service resilience, the financial resilience to be able to deliver to the people with the greatest need. What we've done in looking at these, we do have very clear views around and plans around where do we need to be. What we articulate in this plan is what are we doing this year to get us on that stepping point, because it's 3 to 5 years change, isn't it? So there are things in here which are part of wider discrete pieces of work, which is about how we change our services. So some of the things that I think of is we're currently embarking, and one of our service managers, our RI, is leading on a piece of work to articulate what does in-house provider services look like by 2030? Because actually the need will be different. The people's expectations around care and support, technology will be different. So what we know is we're doing that piece of work, but actually there are some core things that we need to do differently next year, and that's planning for what is the future of Coed y Ddraig. So that's our residential home in Holywell, which is at the end of its building life. So actually there's a project included in here which is about how we plan and do something different to Coed y Ddraig. But that forms part of a 5-year strategy about relooking and refocusing our in-house offer for provider services. There's stuff in here about digital. Digital will be a massive change programme. This year it talks about the things we'll be doing around Mosaic, which is a new system. So what we don't have is a single document that says social care by 2030 will look like this. What we've got is some discrete documents. So we've got one that we've brought here, which explains our approach to eliminating profit from children's care. So we've set out, this is what we're going to do around residential and fostering. And then in the priorities, it sets out what we're doing this financial year. So I'd want to give you assurance that we're not working on a year-by-year plan, because we won't change anything, will we, if we just take a short-term view. What we are articulating is this year, to achieve that, these are the things that we are prioritising as the building block to get to a new approach. What we can bring and will start to bring is, as those pieces of work, like what is the provider strategy for 2030, when that's ready, that'll come here. So you'll see, oh yeah, you're already doing that year one stuff, but actually, are you in agreement where we want to be in the kind of next 4 or 5 years? I don't know if you want to come in, Dawn, because you've done lots of work around residential care.
Yeah, I think it just, I'm wondering whether it'd be helpful, based on your suggestion, that if we maybe incorporate a paragraph right at the end of the report, maybe looking at a longer term strategic view, not a huge amount of words and detail, but just a couple of paragraphs explaining, actually giving some examples that Craig has just explained to you around the work that's going on for the more long-term developments, so that it kind of finishes off the report. So yeah, this is what we're doing in 12 months, but we haven't lost that longer term picture. And like you say, we've done a significant piece of work around residential review and increase in demand and what that's likely to look like in Flintshire over the next 5-10 years. We're doing a similar piece of work currently with domiciliary care in the same vein. So all of those examples could go in there as just high level comments just a paragraph at the end that would summarise and pull that information together. So we can do that if that would be helpful.
I think that's a good idea. It's a good suggestion. But again, having been the author of some of these in the past, you know, this is when someone sort of not criticised me, but when I'll do this to fix it. And that sounds like that a little bit, not being rude, but it sort of does. But it's that what I would like to see personally is this council, this group rather, to endorse the long-term view. And therefore the long-term view is not a couple of paragraphs at the end of a big document. It's actually a more substantial, not chapter and verse. I don't want you to go loads of work. You've already got enough work to do. I understand that. But there's something a little bit more meaty than what you suggest. That would be nice as a minimum. But something a little bit more across the arch, so to speak, across the sections, across the piece of work that says that's our long-term outline plan, only outlines, bullet points if necessary, and every year, actually, then you put your bits in and say, but we're on our way to that. We're on our way to this, or not, depending how you do. I would just a thought. Just
to come back to that, because I don't want to be misunderstood. I suppose the difficulty with this report is it's a public-facing report that goes to our CIW and Welsh Government, but it's generally for the general public. So what I suppose we need to do is have the balance of how much information we put in this kind of report, and then what else we need to produce in order to help this committee to ensure that we are using that long-term vision and have those plans in place. So it's about having the balance of the two, isn't it? I suppose for this piece of work, we need to keep it quite brief and also understandable for wider general public and residents out there in Flintshire. That's all. Sorry, I wasn't intending it to be everything, so apologies if that came across.
Councillor Mackie.
Thank you very much. Sorry, thank you for letting me speak again. Right. I think the leader's here and he's listening to this, and I think this committee is taking a very adult view of what the future holds, and is talking here about progressing down a path which is being forced upon us, for want of a better word, by the situation we're in, and we're all in. I think the public need to be aware of where we're going, because it's the public that we serve, and they may not like it, but I think that certainly social services has got to recognise where we are and where we're going. I think the whole council has got to recognise where we are and where we're going. And I think if people are not taking this attitude, they are likely to cause problems for themselves and effectively let our public down in the long term. I think this is a really positive approach. I know it doesn't sound like that, but I think this is a really positive approach to a difficult position, which is not of our making. And I'm sorry to disagree, but I do feel the public should know where things are going. That's my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. What Councillor Mackey is saying is absolutely right. I think as a council, we hide out all our successes under a bushel. We should have better communication coming out and telling the public exactly what we're doing. And when we're out on the doorstep or whatever, and we talk about council tax rises and things like that, the public don't realise what it is, why it is happening. Like last year, 38% of our budget went on education. 34% went on social services. When you take that out of our budget, it's massive. So when we're looking to try and make savings, and I've said this often, the steamrollers run over the orange. There's no more juice left in it. You know, we're down to pips now. And when we're sort of saying to portfolios, have a look again, have a look again. And it's up to us. I'm hopeful that now we've got another government, maybe we can get a better settlement. I don't know, but I know, being a Labour councillor, I don't think we were looked after very well from Cardiff last time. And I don't mind saying that. So I wish you well with everything, Craig. You know, I know that you and your staff do a tremendous job. And I did go there this morning, and what I would say, the quality of the plants and all that was absolutely superb. And absolutely right, if we could have a stall or something here on the front, I'm sure it would go really well. So, look into that, Craig. Thank you.
Yeah, just an observation from me, because I think that I understand, and I think it is necessary to paint that picture about what is quite a grim picture about the national scene and where social care might be heading without, you know, more funding coming from central government. But I think Dave's also right that there's a risk that it's a bit fatalistic, isn't it? If all the public ever hear is, oh, you know, this is really bad. I mean, you look at this, at the draft report, also the previous report we had, and there's loads of good stuff happening under the surface there. And I don't think the council does a very good job of promoting it. And like the Coed y Ddraig drone footage was on the Facebook page, and I saw that a couple of weeks ago, and it was brilliant, and it made me quite excited about going to visit it today. But you think about a load of the other things in there, Mockingbird, Project Search. I don't think I've ever seen these things referenced on social media. So if the council itself isn't saying this is the stuff we're doing with your council tax, then, you know, people are only going to get that negative impression, which obviously there's an onus on the council to say, look, things aren't great, we need more money. But I think you've also got to say, you know, we do spend your money on good things as well. Any other members? Should we move to the recommendations? So just to say, obviously, we had the draft report come to us via email, and it will come back to this committee at the next meeting on the 16th of July. So homework for all of us is to look through it and provide any feedback in between now and that next meeting, so it can be fed back into the final draft, which will come back to us next month. So 2 recommendations. First one is that members are asked to consider and provide observations on the Chief Officer's summary assessment of social care, and that members review the draft report and feedback on the content considered for inclusion. Do I have a mover for those? Councillor Mackie. Seconder, Councillor Claydon. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. We will move on to agenda item 9 now, which is short break respite services for children to meet the needs of carers. That starts on page 41. I think Craig is going to introduce this, but I think we might also have Peter Robson, or not?
No. So apologies, Chair. I did say I'd email you and I totally forgot. Peter's gone to a different meeting. He's gone to Youth Justice Board, so I'm going to do a double act here. So respite care, people might not be familiar with the term respite care. More modern language is and terminology is short breaks, and short breaks in this context is designed to give parents and carers of disabled children planned breaks from their caring role. And that's really important because as rewarding, as close and loving being a parent and a carer of a child with disabilities, it can also be exhausting, and we need to recognise that, and we need to support those people who need support because they want to care for their children, they want to be for what's in the best for them, and we've got a responsibility to support them, to enable them to continue that which is in everyone's best interests. What we are seeing, which is really, really positive, is more children who were born with complex health conditions surviving and thriving and living good, longer lives. And that is brilliant because that's about how health, technology, medication have all moved on. What we're also seeing as well is increasing numbers of people with additional learning needs, neurodiversity, and also emotional dysregulation, mental health needs, particularly arising out of COVID. So what that means is there's a growing number of children and young people who have needs, and parents need support to meet those needs. I think one of the things that in presenting this report, which is about short breaks for parents, where that's assessed as needed, is that it fits part of a wider piece of work that we're doing across the council. So our education colleagues are working really hard about how we respond to ALN and how we support more people to receive their education and learning in Flintshire. You're well cited on Outer County. Outer County budget is 2 elements: social care element, where we need to get children's residential care or independent fostering, but also for education placements, so education day placements, and as education as part of a residential setting. So what we're doing is looking at how we support and educate our learners in county. Social services need to support and work with education to make sure where we do that, we provide those short breaks and enable those parents to be able to look after and support their children who are educated here. So I just need to flag that we need to see this in its biggest sense. CIW came in July looking at children's services, and one of the things they said, because they spoke to staff, but they also spoke to families, children, young people, parents, carers, and they identified something that we knew anyway, that the demand for overnight short break absolutely exceeds current provision, and it's only going to go one way, and that is that demand is going to grow and grow. So they challenged us to really think about actually what are the range of models around short breaks, because they don't always have to be overnight, but actually how do we think about and how do we prepare ourselves to be able to meet that growing need. We're on the start of that journey. We haven't got it cracked. There's some pieces of work that are taking place. Again, this document talks about, actually, this is a 3-year programme to actually expand our offer. There's a piece of work which I think is really important that we're tapping into, which is a regionally led piece of work, but hosted by Flintshire. And there is the North Wales Together Board. So that's a programme of work to support people with learning disabilities. And what we are doing through that work is going out and talking to parents and carers about what is it they need, what would help, because the reality is often they will tell us the low cost, really simple solutions that have the biggest impact that we might not have thought about. So actually we've got to start with talk to the people who actually need the support. So that is my caveat, that there's that consultation work, and we will listen to what parents and carers tell us, and we'll develop our plans based on that. But what we also know is that we've got some other offers that we need to expand. We definitely need and are looking at how we expand our fostering respite offer. So actually, how do we ensure and get better at recruiting more foster carers who specialise in offering short breaks, so we can buddy parents up, foster carers, and those parents know, oh, they're going to John's house and Jill's house, and that becomes a more natural relationship for that young person, and they almost start to become aunts and uncles, don't they, through that fostering arrangement. And we've got Mockingbird, so we'll be looking as part of the further expansion of Mockingbird how we could develop opportunities for fostering support to help. The other area that is incredibly successful and has high demand is a ROSFA. So a ROSFA is our residential short break service. It's a council building, registered children's home that is run by a ROSFA, run by Action for Children. It's a long-standing relationship. CIW inspect and give that really, really positive outcomes. They're about to have an inspection, so they'll get their next inspection. They have 3 beds, and there's a rolling programme where respite is provided. They're currently supporting 14 young people on that rota, but there's a waiting list, and that waiting list is for 2 years. And actually, it's really challenging for parents if we say, absolutely, you meet the criteria, you just need to hold on for 2 years. That's a big ask, isn't it? So we recognise as part of our work around eliminating profit that we will need to do some work around a real intensive needs analysis about short breaks and about supporting parents, carers of disabled children through that model. The challenge is, it's like everything, and this is where we have to be realistic, there's no more money. But it's one of those that it's an investor save, because what we know is if we don't get that support in early, if we don't enable and provide that resilience, the real risk is that those family arrangements break down. That is a massive human impact, first and all, but it also then has a massive financial impact because we then have to commission really high cost. So it's working out, actually, how do you shift and unlock some of that money we're spending over here in outer county to more early help and preventative work. And that's part of the work that we'll be doing this year in Tartan to map that out and really looking at in-house, how do we expand that offer. So I don't have a plan that's fully formulated yet, but I wanted to, given that this came nearly a year ago, give assurance that we've been doing some mapping work, understanding we're in the active consultation with parents and carers, and we're doing the work in terms of our plan about what that offer is, how that links to fostering and how that links to residential. So we'll be bringing more reports about actually this is what the plan is, but I thought it was really important, particularly as our education colleagues are moving forward with their plans around ALN, that you were cited as a children's services and adult services scrutiny to understand actually where do social services fit in this.
Thanks, Craig. Councillor Mackie.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say some years ago I did a rota visit at a Rosfer, and I was impressed. And I asked a silly question. You know, I always ask a silly question. The silly question I asked, and I can still remember it to this day, is why on top of the wardrobe have you got a slanting shelf at 45 degrees? And the answer was because we have some of our residents who will go and sleep up there and they can't sleep on a slant. So, you know, I think that says a lot actually, and probably a bit about me. I fully agree. I'd like to I'm really looking at paragraph 106 here. Mockingbird has, I am absolutely certain, been brilliant. I was lucky enough to be involved in this from a very, very, very early stage when we were looking for finance and that sort of thing. And for those who don't know, it basically creates like a giant family within a group of foster carers. I think that's the best way of describing it, so that young people who are in foster care can actually have nights out with aunties, just like they would in a real family. And at the same time, it gives foster carers a chance to talk about their problems. And you always say a problem shared is problem halved. Or is it the way around? I don't know. And on top of that, it creates a lot better relationships. And from what I've seen, and I've seen it relatively close too, because I'm on the fostering panel, I'm convinced it's a very positive model that we're into. I just have a question, a break. So we are talking about looking at perhaps foster carers who are offering short breaks, helping in this area we've now identified. I do agree we have to do something, totally agree. I've written that down very big letters. Yes, family breakdown, we've got to avoid wherever we can. Yeah, okay. However, at the moment, we have foster carers who we need to have because we have children looked after. We've already thought about using foster carers with some children who are in residential care, but we think we can bring back. So we put a bit of more weight on that one, if you like. And now we're looking at And I agree, there are some foster carers who just want to provide short breaks. We're thinking of looking again at that. And it's just a word of warning. We mustn't, I don't think we will, but we mustn't, if you like, widen this scope so that we may have a problem with our actual reason for having foster carers, which is children looked after. Now, I'm sure Craig's going to say, no, we'll cover that, because he does, and he's right. But I just want to bring that forward to the committee because I think it needs to be said. That's all. Thank you.
So I think what we haven't done over recent years is really targeted, focused campaigns, which are to be a foster carer for short breaks, because some people will say, I can't, my circumstances mean that I cannot commit to having a child or young person long term as a foster carer. But there are people out there that would say, do you know what, once a month I could give a weekend up and I could be a foster carer for short breaks. So it's not about stretching the jam and making it thin. It's about saying, actually, we need to think differently about being really specific and having a targeted campaign to say, what we're not looking for is general foster carers. We are, apply here, but also for this, we've got a group of young people. And actually, could you commit? Because that could be people who are working, who would say, actually, yeah, once a month or once every 6 weeks, I can give a weekend up or I can give a couple of nights. So what we're looking at is a different offer and trying to attract a different group of people, because I don't think that we have tapped into that potential enough.
Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want a comment, really. I know parents who've got children and young people that have used the respite care or ROSFA. And I also know young people who actually look forward to going to have a break from the parents as much as the parents are getting a break from the children. My question is there an age threshold for this? Is there a cut-off point? Or is this service open to adults, children with elderly parents who might need a bit of respite as well? Thank you.
So for this provision, this is for children and young people. A ROSFA, I think registration is 6 to 18. I need to just double check. Oh, there we are. Been nodded. They are currently supporting a couple of younger children, and we've got an exemption through CIW in terms of that. But they will support children who are 18, and that includes children up until the age of 19. So we don't, on their 18th birthday, say, you're 18, you now need to leave. There is flexibility taking them up to that 19th birthday. But what there often is transition plans for those young people. So some of those young people might move into supported living depending on their needs. But for younger adults who have needs, if they are living at home, then it would be around a carers assessment, and that carers assessment identifying through the adults routes a different offer, which isn't kind of a residential children's home. So it's a different process, but there is, if someone is assessed and eligible, the ability for an adult parent carer of an adult to have respite.
Councillor Gladys Healy.
Thank you, Chair Diahumba. I just want to ask, we are talking of fostering children, and we haven't got enough fostering places. What happens if we give them, is there anything that we could give them, like a daycare where they can come and have a break where we put these children, just like for a day break or something like that? Do we have places like that? Because the foster care places are full. Thank you, Chair.
So we have a range of options that we can provide to. So is this supporting the foster carers, Councillor Healy, or supporting the parents?
Parents.
Parents. Okay, so there are a range of things. There are a number of parents that we provide direct payments to, and that provides flexibility for those parents to actually say, as long as it meets the outcomes that we've assessed as needed, eligible, we can provide a direct payment, and that direct payment in agreement with us can be used quite creatively to give the parents, the family, and that might not always be separated a day with the family, it might be the family doing something together that's fun. So we use direct payments in a very creative way to listen to what would help those individual parents. But this proposal is about recognising the more formalised short breaks that we provide is something that we need to expand. So we've got some things, but I think we're recognising that it needs to grow.
Councillor Claydon.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering about the in-house breaks and how they would differ from a ROSFA. Are they going to be presumably children's homes or houses which have a particular sort of theme in them? And also following on from Councillor Buckley's comments, do we have any adult respite services? I'd like to know a little bit about that as well, because if the cut-off point isn't 18 but it's 19, what happens to people that have been used to that respite after that? Thank you.
So as we develop the model for expanding in-house residential short breaks, we will need to think about the model that we use. So the current model is a ROSFA is in-house in that it is a council building, council house, converted property, but we chose to enter a strategic partnership with Action for Children for them to run it because they have the specialism, the experience, the trained workforce, because children are peg fed, there's a very particular needs. I can't predetermine the outcome, but one of the options that we would need to consider is, do we look for someone else to continue to provide that expanded provision? So although we say in-house, that doesn't constrain us to mean that we have to have the building and we have to have the care and the staff all in-house. There are hybrid models that are very successful, and what we would want to do as a principle is build on what we know we've got evidence that has impact and that has work. So that will be developing the business case about what the options, what's the most effective in terms of delivering outcomes and cost effective for us as well. So it might not differ at all, or it might completely differ in that we bring it all up. I can't predetermine that, but we don't have a fixed view that it has to be internal staff. In terms of adult services, I don't know, would you be able to pick up, because we've got services and Pam might be able to chip in as well.
Yeah, no problem at all. So from an adult's perspective, once obviously people transition over from children to adults, it's a different service offer. Obviously, the first item that substantive item that we covered today was HFT. All of their services, I know they're not overnight services, but they're day services, but they are all about respite for people with disabilities, any from 18 upwards. So they don't have an upper limit, but they are adult services. There's also a whole host of other opportunities. So we work with NewKiss, who support unpaid carers in Flintshire. They have a Bridge in the Gap scheme that people can access, which will pay for short breaks, etc. There's some Welsh Government funding that's come through the third sector that helps support some of that. We have more formal arrangements in place. So we have particularly a care home bed that we purchase permanently for respite for people with disabilities. That can be either used for planned breaks. So if somebody is going on holiday and they need someone to look after their loved one for a couple of weeks, then that's an option. Or actually it can also be used for those emergency situations as well. And I guess the final element, and we can spot purchase those as and when we need them as well with our independent sector providers across Flintshire and other areas. I suppose the other thing to think about as well is that actually as people are turning into their adulthood, they're also looking at what their longer term living conditions are going to be like. So a lot of people will move into things like supported living accommodation, etc., living in the community with other people in their houses. And so actually that automatically then frees up parents or carers. There are even actually people staying at home with parents and then getting that home care support coming in and supporting people in home as well. So there's varying options available to people for that respite, for that care, for short breaks if that's what's required. But it is a different service offer when you move into adulthood.
I don't think I've got any other Councillor Lister, sorry.
Sorry. I'm just trying to understand the kind of scale, really. And I was wondering, you might not have the exact figures, but a ballpark figure of how many children are eligible for respite care in Flintshire compared with what you can actually provide. And if possible, is it a statutory requirement that we provide it? So if you can't provide it in Flintshire, are you having to provide it in another way?
So there's a couple of things. One of the pieces of work that's taking place is a population needs assessment. That population needs assessment uses national statistics so that we can start to understand when rates of disability and their likelihood. It doesn't give a definitive, but it starts to help us understand in terms of the population for Flintshire, what are the likely needs. Anything that we provide is always based on, there's an assessment. That assessment looks at the strengths, capabilities, family resources, what people can access from the community. That's a strong message that we are pushing. That's what the Social Services and Wellbeing Act. So someone we might assess is able to, although they have a child with complex needs, can actually access those resources. So it's not an automatic, you've got this condition, therefore you are eligible for X service. So that always makes it a bit more difficult. But if we assess someone as having an eligible need, then we have a statutory responsibility to meet that need. So we can think about the range of options that we can deploy to meet that need. I think one of the things, and we've talked about actually changes, one of the challenges and a report that we will be bringing during this year is what we're calling a choice policy, which sets out when we've assessed someone and we've identified what's a reasonable offer that we can make that says, actually, this service will meet that need, versus someone who says, well, no, I want my child to go to this provision in Cheshire, and that is 3 times more expensive. So there's a piece of work that we're working through. So the process is we will be doing the population needs assessment. We'll be then looking at actually what's a reasonable offer through our choice policy, and then looking at the gap between what we've got, what we think we'll need, which will grow each year, and how do we start to invest in a way that's sustainable, affordable, to enable us to be able to respond to that eligible assessed need.
Different point, but thank you. I wanted to go back to the fostering, and I'm afraid, sorry, Councillor Mackie, I completely disagreed with the because from my perspective, I've always been really interested in fostering. I would love to do it one day. I can't at the moment, and there are lots of people in the community who could and would be really good at it, but actually a full-time foster role is perhaps a little bit too much. So I was just wondering, with the marketing strategy, with whether we could improve the message that actually foster care is out there for very short times. And do you do holiday breaks as well? Because I remember used to hearing about that. If someone could be a foster carer for a week in the summer holidays, that might appeal to teachers and people who work in schools.
We've got to be flexible, we've got to be modern, we've got to recognise that how do we support people who have the values, the skills to meet the needs of our young people, and how do we work with them to maximise it? That's what we'll be doing.
Councillor Thew.
Agenda item 107 at the page 45, last paragraph, I think it says there are 7 on waiting lists for short-term care, 3 have health needs and 6 behavioural needs. Should that read 9?
Do you want
Oh, I'm sorry, there's another one. And para 2.02, should page 47, should the last line read business cases, not business classes? And then I've got a question. I would like to know the 2 long-term placements that are currently occupied. How do those children react to being returned to their own home once the placement has ended? I'd just be interested in that, please.
So if I deal with them in order, this is the first bit around the 3 and 6. What it will be is some of those will have both health needs and behavioural needs. So it is 7, but it doesn't make it clear that of that there are 3 who have health needs and behaviour needs, and an additional who have solely behavioural needs. So apologies, I can see how that's unclear. Absolutely, we don't have business classes, business cases. So thank you for picking that up. In terms of the young people so Arosfa, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, we had, it makes it sound grander than it is, we had the 3 respite, short-term breaks, and then there was an empty wing. It's not a wing, it's a nice homely space, that was part of it. What we did is, what we recognised, there were some children, young people, who it wasn't short breaks, that actually they were looked after and they needed to be supported in Flintshire by an organisation that really understood their needs. So they are permanent placements. So the young people that are in those 2 long-term beds, they won't go home. They are permanent care residents. Now, for the 2 individuals, there is a plan to move them on for something else that we've identified for them together. But that isn't young people that stay in that provision and then go home.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Linda. We'll move to the recommendations because I can't see anybody else indicating. There's 3 on the papers. 1, that members support the expansion of overnight short break capacity, exploring a range of potential models such as shared care, foster-based short breaks and flexible overnight support. That members support the development of a structured programme of engagement delivered through the North Wales Together Board with disabled children, parents and carers. And then members support specific foster carer recruitment campaigns focusing on short break and overnight support roles for disabled children. Councillor Mackie, move. Councillor Coppell to second. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the final agenda item now, which is agenda item 10, actually 11 now, which is the Young Carers Covenant on page 49. And I think Naomi's going to take this, who's online.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I got my camera to work. I thought it wasn't going to work then for a minute. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's all right. I will run through this one for you. So this report brings a proposal for Flintshire County Council to sign Young Carers Covenant. It's a UK-wide commitment developed by Carers Trust that aims to improve the lives of young carers. The covenant is essentially a shared promise across public services and communities. It's about recognising the huge contribution that young carers make, often quietly and at a personal cost, and making sure that they get the support that they need. Young carers are those up to 18 and young adult carers are those up to the age of 25. Young carers look after family members or friends without being paid, and many of them take on responsibilities far beyond what you'd expect of a child or young person of their age. We know this can affect their health, well-being, education and their future opportunities. There are around 1 million young carers aged 17 or under in the UK and a further 600,000 young adult carers aged 18 to 25. Caring for a family member can have a huge impact on a child's mental health and well-being, as their ability to learn and future as with their future ability to learn and future life chances. Shockingly, across the UK, 50,000 young carers are spending as many as 50 hours a week on their caring role. Many young carers feel that they are missing out on large parts of their childhood and on education, and others feel overwhelmed by the level of responsibility. I've got some stats for you, which I think bring that home a little bit. Young carers achieve fewer GCSEs overall than their peers, an average of 7 GCSEs compared with 8 for non-carers. At Key Stage 2, 29% of young carers do not meet the expected levels in reading, writing and maths, compared to with 22% of non-carers. Young carers are significantly more likely to experience psychological distress, 56% compared with 43% of non-carers. Young carers show declines in life satisfaction, self-esteem and self-rated health around the time a young person becomes a carer. And 37% of young carers experience food poverty compared with 16% of non-carers. Many young carers report missing out on social activities, friendships and childhood experiences due to their responsibilities. And a stat that I was reading this morning said that 32.9% of young carers compared with 5.8% of non-carers are likely to be not in education, employment or training. The covenant sets out 10 outcomes that young carers themselves say matter most. These include being able to balance caring with school or college, getting the right health and wellbeing support, having chances to rest, have fun and develop as individuals, feeling recognised, valued and supported by the wider community. By signing the Young Carers Covenant, the council would be making a clear public commitment to improving outcomes for these young people. It could help strengthen joint working across our services and with health and other partners so that young carers are better supported and their wellbeing is prioritised and they have the same opportunities as their peers. The intention would be to include a specific question on young carers in the integrated impact assessment template in the same way that armed forces veterans are, so that young carers are considered in decisions across the council. So that's the proposal. Has anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Naomi. I've got Councillor Mackey first.
Thank you, Chair. Right, paragraph 103, wow. I didn't look at it as a percentage from then to then. I just looked at it, how it's going up year by year. And I would like to say, I would like to ask one question. Is that because we are now looking for these young carers? And we might not know the answer to this, or is it that the number really is going up? And we are in 1819, we did identify all there were then, and now that number's gone from 121 to 75. No, let's take 24, 25, 5, 6, 7. So why has it gone up? What is it just the problems increasing, or is it we're just getting better at identifying them? Right. Then if we go down to 104, you know I hate bullet points, don't you? Please. Yeah, I hate bullet points because I can't refer to them. Just please find another way of doing it. Right. There are a lot of issues that we are going to commit to if we commit to this. One of them down here is be able to thrive in education. Now, if we look up at the previous paragraph to the one I mentioned first off, paragraph 102, which has bullet points, and I don't like it. But the first one there says young carers achieve fewer GCSEs overall. So there is an issue that has specifically been identified, and in the commitment that we're making, we will be agreeing to help in education. And there's other things like that. So really, my question on this is, these young carers who are usually providing one heck of a service within the family or to a family member and giving up their time as a result, there are this group of identified problems that they can encounter. Are we, or is somebody actually making an effort somehow to overcome those problems with these young people? Now, I don't know how you do it. I don't think it's easy, but, you know, if as a result of the caring that you're putting into for a member of your family, you are likely to be one GCSE less than if you weren't doing that, surely we should be doing something to help if that's possible. And I don't know what that is. And it's similar with other things, like in relation to experiencing food poverty, and their personal satisfaction in life. So it's a weird question, and I'm sorry to ask it, but is something actually being done to put these issues right for young people who are giving a great deal of service to society? Thank you.
Sorry, now firstly, my camera seems to have stopped working, so I don't really know what's going on there, so I'm just a black screen. I do apologise, unless you can see me, but I can't. So your first question was about the identification numbers. It's a mixture of both of what you proposed. So over the years, we have got better at identifying young carers, but also if you think about the waiting lists in the NHS, things like that, there are more young carers. So it is a bit of both. I still would say that I don't think we've identified every young carer that we have in Flintshire. We actually work with NewKiss. I know we've done a couple of reports over the last couple of years with NewKiss. We did a visit out to the NewKiss office, I think was that last year, to their carer centre. We've got a specific contract for young carers, which is held by NewKiss and their young carer team, and they have got a schools project where they actually go into schools, because that's going to be one of the main areas where we're going to be able to identify young carers. They do an accreditation scheme, and NewKiss have set this up themselves. It's something they've been working on for a couple of years. They've been really successful with it, and they are identifying more and more young carers. I think the figure was, like, I've just been in a meeting this morning, and they had 9 referrals, I think, last week alone from schools for young carers. So each of the schools, as they're working their way around Flintshire, each of the schools has their staff have a training and accreditation scheme. I think there's 3 levels of it. They then, once they've trained the staff, they'll go into assemblies, so that they do assemblies for the children and young people, so that they can understand what a young carer is. They can potentially think, actually, this is a safe space where I can talk to my teacher about what's going on at home. if the teachers don't know, but also they can their peers can understand what it is and what, you know, what being a young carer might mean, so that they can get some peer support as well, which is really important. So yeah, the identification is a mix of both things really, in terms of getting, there are more, but also we are getting better at identifying them. That number that's in the report, this report was written a couple of months ago now, due to the hold on the elections, and I believe the number is closer to 800 that we ended last year on, the 759 that was predicted. So just for information. Your other question about are we actually doing things? Certainly within social services, like I said, we've got this, we've got a contract specifically with NewKiss, which aims to support children and young people who are young carers. It does look at education. It looks at opportunities for them to get a break from their care roles, some respite, some opportunities to go out and just be children and young people in their own right. They go off and do activities. I think we've, for those of you that came to the carer, you will have heard Kelly, who's the young carer team leader, talk very passionately about all of the excellent things that they do. They go off, they go into Alton Towers in the next school holidays, they do residential trips, they go bowling, they do all kinds of things which are really incredible with the young carers. So it gives them a chance to get a break from that caring role and just to be children and enjoy some stuff. They do regular respite as well. So I think it's every week, they do like a youth club for the children and young people, the young carers, to be able to visit. They get some peer support from other young carers, which they really, really value. But specifically in terms of education, I've already talked about the accreditation scheme that they got within schools. But when they do carers needs assessments with the young carers, they are able to identify if education is something they're struggling with. Certainly we've had some of the young carers this year and last year who were struggling, and they were actually able to apply for some funding and get them some individual tuition to help them with their GCSEs, which was incredible and has really, really helped. So having that close relationship, the team have got a really, really close relationship with all of the young carers that engage with the service, and they're really able to know what it is that they help them with and what they need help with. So if it is education, they do those kind of things and they really try to support them. Some of them, they help them with going to health appointments of their own and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Thank you very much for that answer. Yes, it does answer the question. I think basically it's the, I have to get this right, don't I? It's the organisation which is identifying them, is also taking steps to ensure that wherever they can, the issues that the young people encounter are being addressed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely they are. It is something that is important that they've identified, that they really want to make sure that the support that they provide is person-centred for each individual young carer. And we have been also, I didn't mention, we have been linking in with the education department to make sure that they're aware of all the things that we're doing to, you know, support with education. The majority of schools have been really, really receptive and have welcomed the team in. So it's been really great. Thank you.
Councillor Lister.
I think you probably just answered. I'm very happy to support the covenant. I think if we refer to it when we're making big strategic decisions and have this in mind, then it's only a good thing. I was just wondering whether you were asking the governing bodies of schools to also look at the covenant and see if they will sign it, because they will obviously have the biggest impact in some of those outcomes. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. It's something, the covenant is actually, I will tell you, the covenant is open to individuals as well. So if any of you individually as councillors wanted to go and sign up to this, you would be more than welcome to. MPs have signed up to it, members of Senedd have signed up to it. So this is something that you can all, as individuals, as communities, you can all go and sign up to it. I think the link should be in the report. I'm fairly sure it is. So you would be more than welcome to go and do that yourselves. you know, either on behalf of yourself or your communities, however you want to do it. But yes, it's something that if you know, if we are happy to pass it, I can speak to the education department and see what we can do. I know that our New KISS team have been going into the heads of head teachers. I can't remember what they're called. They've got head teachers network meetings. So they've been going in there and talking to them. So it's something that we could do to look at each individual school governing body signing up as well. We can talk to them, put some comms out.
Did you want to come in on this, Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, all I was going to say was if we're going to take this to full council, if it's agreed, I'd like Claire or one of her team from New KISS, along with some young carers, to come in while we sign that covenant. So, you know, they are there to recognise that we do support them. We've also got the young carers card as well, haven't we, Naomi?
We do, yes. We have a young carers ID card.
Yeah, which Councillor Hilary McGill fought long and hard for, didn't she? And she was so proud of that as well. So if you agree, can we add that to it, that we have New KISS and the
Absolutely. We've got some fantastic young carers. They've got their own forum of our young carers. They're very vocal, and they are more than happy to come, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to come, and would be really would really enjoy an opportunity to meet you all. We've got some great young carers in the forum, so I can put that to them.
Yeah.
Councillor Coppell.
Thank you, Chair. Excellent. Fully support all this. It's very good ideas. Great. The carers are unsung heroes of the young carers. Just a question in terms of scale, and we talk about support and New KISS, but is there a money value to this? Or should we know a money value to it? Because I think if we knew a money value to it, then you can say, because you put this much money against this big thing, and are we putting enough money? But we're supporting, but I'm struggling what support means in that sense, because sometimes it can mean money, sometimes it can't mean money. So it could be just activities. So is there a money side to it that we can say?
There is a contract value. So the contract that we've got, we commission New KISS to provide support to New KISS. I would have to dig out the number. I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head. So we have got a wide range of carer services that we do commission. It doesn't stop with what we commission out. We do also provide carers support internally. So all of our social workers, both adults and children's, are able to signpost carers and also able to complete carers needs assessments. I'd have to get you the full breakdown of any cost. It did come when we recommissioned last year. All of those costs did come to Scrutiny then. So if they were all signed off then, but I can get that information to you. Does that answer your question?
No, it does, because I think if we all agree today and it goes to full council, I think it'd be really useful for full councils to have a really good appreciation of the efforts going, which is massive probably, and the financial implications of it, because I think it's important.
Yeah. There's no fun. This isn't going to cost us anything to sign up to, if that makes sense, in terms of actually physically signing this.
The only caveat I'd put is that we just need to make sure whether it's a part 2 item, because it might be commercially sensitive because it went through a tender. So if we've put it already into the public domain and that's permissible, we'll include it in the council report, but it may be that it falls under that. So we just need to go away and double check that, but we'd be able to confirm with you individually as Scrutiny members.
So can I just come in as well? What we might be able to do as well, I don't know how feasible this is, Naomi, but you know, everyone that's registered, there will be a number of hours of care that they deliver recorded as part of their carers needs assessment. We might be able to put a monetary value against that shows you what savings that cohort of young carers is actually generating in Flintshire. I don't know, we'd have to check if the data is there and is accurate, but that could be a way of at least demonstrating what they're contributing to the Flintshire picture.
I can definitely do something. I don't know whether I can pull it out on a automatic way. It might be manual to go and pull the number of hours specifically, but we can do some kind of some nice demonstration in that way of something, I'm sure, that demonstrates what they're contributing. I've definitely got some more local figures. The figures I've quoted at you today are UK-wide. I've got some Welsh-only figures, and I've definitely got some stuff that we could use that is for Flintshire specifically.
Thank you, Naomi. In terms of the recommendation then, I'm conscious that Councillor Jones has maybe suggested that UCAS and young carers are invited if the committee agrees today. And also I know Councillor Lister made the point about the importance of the education department being aware of this. They can get it to schools. I don't know if there's any suggestions perhaps of how we can incorporate those two things into the recommendation if members are minded to do that. Councillor Mackie?
Certainly, I think the recommendation should include the proposal that Chris put forward, Christine Jones, in relation to going to full council and recognising it at full council. I forgot what the other.
Is it education? It is
Yeah.
in the report already that education has confirmed that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's whether or not it's education or the schools actually recognising that perhaps they have to put a bit more effort in here. I'm not sure about that. You know better than me.
I think it's just to reach out through the education portfolio to individual governing bodies, that to make them aware that the covenant is available for them to sign up to. Because they're at an arm's length, aren't they, from us, the schools?
So maybe we could say, we could add to the end and invite UCAS and young carers to that meeting and encourage the education department to reach out to school governing bodies.
Or to also sign up.
Yeah. Does that sound workable recommendation? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Mackie. Seconder. Councillor Lister, all those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. And that was the final agenda item. So, diolch, thank you, everybody. And yeah, just a reminder for members to feed into the annual report in between now and the next meeting of this committee. And obviously we've got the joint meeting, which is on the 2nd of July, which comes before our next solar meeting. Margaret, yeah.
Just a reminder as well that we've got some of you have signed up to a visit to the emergency department in Wrexham on the 23rd of June. So just a reminder, and if anybody hasn't said they want to come, we have probably got a couple of spaces. So there is still an opportunity for you to join us. If you want to, just email me and let me know. But thank you to those who have already said that you're coming along. Thank you. It is quite an unique opportunity, so I think it is really important.
If at all feasible, I would encourage anyone to car share.
Okay, thank you.